Don't make these 4 mistakes in an argument. Hi, I'm Ron Schlegel. I was a psychotherapist for over 30 years, and these 4 mistakes have shown up over and over again in my work with clients. This video is for educational and inspirational purposes only, and not a substitute for professional care and advice. If you're in a crisis, contact your local emergency services or the National Domestic Violence Hotline at www.thehotline.org. Let's get started. The first common mistake people make in an argument is to yell. When yelling starts, people either shut down or escalate. Either way, the chances of having a positive outcome is greatly diminished. Sometimes yelling will take a person by surprise, and they will pay attention simply because they did not realize you were upset. However, as a regular strategy, it tends to lead to more distance between people and a very tense household or work environment. You may even want to ask the people you care about if you yell a lot. If they say yes, ask them how they feel when you do. This may sound silly, but this kind of conversation can open the door to some real positive relationship building. Ask yourself, what kind of a relationship do you want to have with people you care about? Then think about how you are behaving. Does your behavior reflect the kind of relationship you want to have? If not, then taking even small steps, like noticing your own behavior and being honest with yourself, can help you begin making real change. How often do you think people actually sit down and have an open and honest conversation about how they are getting along and how they might make things better? It can be so helpful to talk in advance about how to resolve differences and avoid a fight. These things can go a long way in creating harmonious relationships in living and working environments. Please note that if you tend to use yelling regularly, it can be a pattern developed at an early age because of the environment you grew up in. This pattern has become a part of your subconscious programming. At the end of this video, I will talk more about the role of the subconscious mind and how you have to make changes on a subconscious level in order to address those long-term unhealthy patterns. The second common mistake people make in an argument is not to listen. What people want most when they are upset is to be listened to. They want to know you heard what they said and that you understand how they think and feel. That is why just listening can de-escalate an argument very quickly. You do have to let the person know you're listening. First, don't say anything. Just look at the person, nod your head, or in some way give them a sign you're listening. Then, a very powerful thing to do is to repeat back to them what you heard them say. Do not worry if you have it wrong. If it is not what they were saying, it will give them a chance to clarify. Even if they are still angry, do your best to not react in an upset way, but rather listen. Reflect back what you heard them say again. It can even be in their exact words. That may seem phony, but if you are sincere, it is likely to de-escalate the argument and open the door for a more productive discussion. Now, I know you could be upset yourself because they could be blaming you or just being totally irrational. You may have a very strong urge to set them straight and to put an end to this craziness as you see it. Now, be honest. When you followed through on those kinds of urges, how has it gone? Did you have control over yourself in the situation? How did it improve your relationship with that person? When we listen, we end up having quite a bit of control over whether an argument escalates or not. We end up being a role model for how to handle conflict. If we are a parent, we can teach our children a much healthier way of communicating. that will serve them well for the rest of their lives. That lesson is that listening naturally leads to much more constructive conversation rather than escalation of a conflict. All of this takes practice, but with practice, it can become very natural. It can drastically reduce the number of arguments you have with other people. It can make your life much more peaceful and enjoyable in general. Give it a try. Now, it's important for me to say that never allow anyone to physically or emotionally abuse you. This is just not acceptable. You and your family's safety should be your primary concern. If you are feeling unsafe, seek professional help. There are local domestic crisis lines in many areas and countries. In the U.S., you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at www.thehotline.org. The third most common mistake people make in an argument is to blame. Think about how you feel when someone blames you for something even when they were correct. You probably got defensive. Most people will get defensive when outright blamed for something. Then they really don't listen, and the argument just escalates. So how do you have a discussion with someone without getting them defensive, so they will really listen to you? One way is to not make the person feel that they are a bad person, but rather point out how what they did made you feel. When you use statements that reflect how you feel, rather than statements that point out what is wrong with the other person, it greatly increases the chances of having a constructive resolution to the problem. When someone does something to upset you, instead of confronting them by blaming them, tell them how what they said or did made you feel. Let me give you some examples of possible things you might say. What you said really hurt me. I don't like it when you tell me I'm stupid. That only makes me feel worse about myself. What you did made me feel totally disrespected. When you act this way, it makes me feel scared. Is that what you want? Do you want me to feel scared? It can be very useful to plan ahead before an argument occurs and rehearse in your own mind what you're going to say and do. This is useful for any of the suggestions I am making in this video. It is usually not hard to think of arguments that have already occurred in your life with a particular person or situation that will likely occur again. Rehearse them in your mind and see yourself doing something different. See yourself using the tool of not blaming or any other tool mentioned and practice it. So when the time comes, it will be easy for you to use it. See, in the heat of the moment, it will not be easy if you have not rehearsed it in your own mind. Athletes use this technique a lot before they go into a competition. The benefits of practice in your own mind ahead of time can be very rewarding. It can go a long distance in improving your relationships with others. Note, the suggestions above are only suggestions. You have to use your own words that work for you. I mentioned earlier that if we are stuck in reacting a certain way, it's likely because of subconscious programming at an early age. There is a relatively easy and effective way to change that subconscious programming, which I will discuss at the end of this video. The fourth common mistake people make in an argument is to not offer a sincere apology for anything they have done wrong or that was hurtful. A sincere apology, and I mean sincere, when it is indicated and appropriate, can be a very powerful tool to de-escalating an argument. There are people who will apologize for anything, even when they have done nothing wrong. This is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you think you have done something wrong, don't hesitate to apologize for the specific thing you think you have done wrong. That is not a weakness or a sign of losing an argument, but rather an honest acceptance of your part in something. It doesn't mean that the other person has not done anything wrong. Just acknowledge what you did that was a problem or hurtful. It is important to remember that it's not about winning or losing an argument, but rather resolving a disagreement in the most honest and constructive way possible. The win and lose attitude in an argument is the battle of two egos. Our egos tend to get hurt when we have to admit we have done something wrong. This is not a bad thing. When we allow our egos to process the hurt, we can become a better person. Our humility will lead to improved self-acceptance and self-love. It can also help us to be more forgiving and accepting of others. If you apologize for your part, the other person will be more likely to apologize for their part, but do not expect that. It may take them time to process their own thoughts and feelings. They may never be able to apologize for their part. Ask yourself, do you want to be the person who apologizes as necessary or the one who never does? This says a lot about your character. You can be proud of the fact that you choose a position of honesty and humility. As I indicated earlier, I will speak about how our subconscious mind gets programmed at an early age. This programming can be positive or negative. The programming results from the things we experience growing up. Those experiences can be events that are tragic or positive. They can be made up of positive thoughts or negative things said and done to us. Unfortunately, the negative experiences can be hurtful and stay with us, trapped in our subconscious mind, robbing us of joy, happiness, and success for the rest of our lives. Science is showing that about 95% of our behavior is driven by the subconscious mind. This means that our subconscious mind has much more control over our behavior than our conscious mind. So if we want to make real change, we have to make the change on a subconscious level. The subconscious mind has some unique characteristics. One is that it does not know time. So anything that has ever happened to us, or we have ever been led to believe about ourselves, is running in the background of our minds, as if it is happening right now. However, one does not have to be a victim of our past programming. There are very effective, cutting-edge techniques for changing the subconscious mind. One of those is PSYCH-K. The reason we no longer need to be victims of our subconscious is due to a unique characteristic of our brain. It is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural pathways. PSYCH-K is one of those modalities that does just that. It was created by Rob Williams. His work has been researched and supported by Bruce Lipton, a cell biologist who wrote the book Biology of Belief. PSYCH-K is a process in which you, guided by a facilitator, can rewrite your subconscious limiting beliefs and clear out the emotional charge of your traumatic memories. Changing one specific subconscious belief can take as little as a few minutes, and that rewriting of your neural pathways can change your life. I had introduced PSYCH-K into my practice at a hospital working with veterans with severe emotional issues and trauma. The results I saw convinced me to leave traditional therapy behind, and starting in 2013, to offer my services online where I can reach people around the world. To learn more and to sign up for a free consultation, go to my website at riseabovetrauma.com. I think it is best for people to be informed about other options for treatment they may not be aware of. Please keep in mind, this video and its contents is intended for educational and inspirational purposes, and not a substitute for advice, diagnosis, or treatment regarding any medical or mental health condition. Always consult your physician before making any decisions related to your physical or mental health. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more free videos dedicated to a peaceful mind, subscribe to my channel. Never give up. You too can find the peace and happiness you seek.